Today, we decode how insects breathe, why they do it through holes in their sides, and why this very system, the system that built the most successful animal group on Earth, is also their greatest limitation. Every breath you take is a small miracle. Your lungs expand, air rushes in, oxygen dissolves into your blood. Your heart pumps that blood to every cell in your body. It's a team effort, lungs, heart, blood, all working together. But what if I told you there was an animal that does all of this without lungs, without a heart pumping oxygen, without blood carrying gases at all? This animal has holes in its sides, tiny valves. Open them, and air floods directly into its body through a network of tubes so complex, so finely branched, that they touch almost every single cell. No middleman, no blood, just air, straight to the cells. And this system, this ancient, elegant, impossibly efficient design, is also the reason insects can never grow as large as they once did. Welcome to the hidden universe of insect breathing. Look closely at the side of almost any insect, a grasshopper, a beetle, a caterpillar, and you'll see them. Small, dark openings, usually one pair per body segment, running along the thorax and abdomen. These are spiracles, and they are the insect's nostrils, lungs, and air intake valves, all in one. Each spiracle is a masterpiece of microengineering, a valve made of tiny muscles and flaps that can open and close with precision. When open, air rushes in. When closed, water stays in. Because here's the thing, every time an insect breathes, it risks losing water. In dry environments, this is deadly. So spiracles have hairs that filter out dust, muscles that control the opening size, and sensory nerves that respond to carbon dioxide, oxygen, even touch and sound. Some insects have 10 pairs of spiracles, others have fewer. Some have them only on the thorax, others have them along the entire abdomen. The number, the placement, the complexity, all adapted to lifestyle. Aquatic insects have spiracles at the end of breathing tubes that pierce the water surface. Parasitic larvae often have no functional spiracles at all. They absorb oxygen directly through their skin. But for most insects, these holes are the gateway to life. And when I say gateway, I mean it literally. Because behind each spiracle lies one of the most extraordinary plumbing systems in the animal kingdom, a network of tubes that would make a human engineer weep with envy. Behind each spiracle is a trachea, a large air tube. But this isn't just one tube. It's the start of a branching network that would put the human circulatory system to shame. The trachea splits into smaller tracheae. Those split again, and again, and again, until after as many as 28 branching levels, they become tracheoles, tubes so fine, so delicate, that their diameter is measured in micrometers, 1/10 the width of a human hair. And here's the truly mind-bending part. These tracheoles don't just get near the cells, they get to the cells. The tips of tracheoles are filled with a thin film of liquid, and oxygen dissolves into that liquid and diffuses directly into the cell. No blood required, no hemoglobin, no heart pumping oxygen around. The air goes straight from the outside world to the mitochondria, the cellular power plants, in a single, continuous, air-filled pipeline. This is the tracheal system, and it is the most direct respiratory system in the animal kingdom. While you and I need lungs to extract oxygen, blood to transport it, and a heart to pump that blood, insects just open a hole and let the air in. The tubes themselves are reinforced with spiral rings of chitin, the same tough material that makes up the insect's exoskeleton. These rings, called tanidia, look like the wire reinforcement in a vacuum cleaner hose. They keep the tubes open, prevent kinking, but allow flexibility. An insect can bend, twist, compress its body, and the airways stay open. It's engineering that human designers copied for flexible ducts and hoses. But insects invented it 400 million years ago.
For small, inactive insects,
Air moves through this system by simple diffusion. Oxygen drifts down the concentration gradient from high concentration outside to low concentration inside. Carbon dioxide drifts out the same way. No energy required, no muscles involved, just physics. And for a tiny insect with a short body, this is enough. But what about when the insect needs more power? When a grasshopper prepares to jump? When a bee takes flight? When a wasp stings? Metabolic rate can increase 100-fold in seconds. Diffusion alone can't keep up. So insects evolved something remarkable. They learned to pump.
Watch a grasshopper, a cockroach, or a bee closely, and you'll see it. Rhythmic movements of the abdomen, compressions, expansions. These aren't just random twitches. They are breathing. The insect is using its body muscles to actively pump air through the tracheal system, like a bellows, like a lung, but not a lung, a whole body lung. And some insects took this even further. They evolved air sacs, balloon-like expansions of the tracheal system that lack the spiral reinforcement. These sacs collapse and expand, acting as reservoirs and bellows. During flight, a bee's air sacs can make up the majority of its tracheal system volume. They store air, they enhance ventilation, they even reduce the insect's body density, making flight easier. Air sacs are so important that scientists consider them a key innovation that allowed insects to conquer the skies. But here's something that blew scientists' minds. For decades, they thought only air sacs could provide this pumping action. The tracheae themselves were too rigid, too reinforced. Then, in 2003, researchers used synchrotron X-ray imaging, a technique so powerful it can see inside living insects, and discovered that tracheae themselves compress regularly, rhythmically, even in insects without air sacs. The oval-shaped tracheae of beetles, the round tracheae of fleas, all of them squeeze and release, driving air like tiny bellows. This wasn't supposed to happen, but it does in almost all active insects. And then there's the most bizarre breathing pattern of all, one so strange, so counterintuitive, that scientists argued about its purpose for over 50 years. It's called the Discontinuous gas exchange cycle, and it sounds like something from science fiction. This graph shows a beetle breathing, but it doesn't breathe like you or me. Look at the pattern. Long periods of nothing, flat line, no CO2 coming out. Then burst, a rapid release of carbon dioxide. Then flat again. Then another burst. This is the Discontinuous gas exchange cycle, the DGC, and it has 3 distinct phases that scientists named after what the spiracles are doing. Phase 1, the closed phase. The spiracles are shut tight, no gas exchange. The insect is effectively holding its breath, but it's not suffocating. Oxygen levels inside are carefully regulated.
The insect's cells keep consuming oxygen, but the spiracles stay closed for minutes, sometimes hours.
Phase 2. The fluttering phase. The spiracles open slightly in rapid microbursts, just enough to let oxygen in, but not enough to let carbon dioxide out. It's a one-way valve. Oxygen enters, CO2 stays trapped. Scientists discovered that during this phase, the internal oxygen level is held at a remarkably constant, very low level, about 2 to 4 kilopascals, no matter what the outside oxygen level is. The spiracles flutter faster or slower to maintain this precise set point. It's automatic control. It's homeostasis, and it's happening in an animal with a brain the size of a pinhead. Phase 3. The open phase. The spiracles swing wide open all at once. The built-up carbon dioxide explodes out in a burst. Oxygen floods in. The system resets. And then, the spiracles close again. The cycle repeats.
Scientists first observed this in the 1930s, and for decades they thought they knew why. The Hygric hypothesis, the idea that DGC evolved to save water. By keeping spiracles closed, insects minimize water loss. It made perfect sense. Desert insects do it, beetles do it. It seemed universal. But then scientists started looking closer, and the Hygric hypothesis started falling apart. They found that DGC doesn't actually reduce water loss as much as expected. In some species, respiratory water loss is only 5 to 10% of total water loss. The cuticle, the exoskeleton, loses far more water than the spiracles ever could. They found insects that stopped doing DGC exactly when it would be most useful, during the hottest, driest parts of the day. And they found insects in humid environments that do use DGC, even though they don't need to save water. Enter the chthonic hypothesis. Chthonic, meaning of the earth. The idea that DGC evolved in insects living in burrows, in soil, in rotting wood, places where CO2 builds up and oxygen drops. By keeping spiracles closed, insects concentrate CO2 inside, creating a stronger gradient for rapid release when they finally open. It's not about saving water, it's about dumping CO2 efficiently in environments where CO2 is already high. But even this wasn't the whole story. In 2005, researchers proposed the oxidative damage hypothesis, that DGC protects insects from too much oxygen. Yes, you heard that right, too much oxygen. During the closed phase, oxygen levels inside drop to near hypoxic levels. This might reduce the production of harmful reactive oxygen species, the cellular damage that comes from breathing. Insects might be periodically starving themselves of oxygen to stay healthy. And then there's the emergent property hypothesis, the idea that DGC isn't an adaptation at all, that it's simply what happens when two control systems, one for oxygen, one for carbon dioxide, interact, like two thermostats fighting. The result is oscillation, cycles, not designed, emergent, a byproduct, not a feature. Today, scientists believe the truth is all of the above. DGC probably serves multiple functions: water conservation in some contexts, CO2 dumping in others, oxidative protection in some species, simple physics in others. It's not one answer, it's many answers. And that complexity, that refusal to fit a single neat explanation, is what makes biology so beautiful and so frustrating. But there's one more layer of control, one more mechanism that makes this system even more sophisticated than it first appears. And it happens at the very tips of the tracheoles, the liquid gate. The tips of tracheoles are filled with a thin film of liquid. Oxygen must dissolve into this liquid before it can reach the cell. This liquid is the final barrier, the last gate, and insects control it. When oxygen is plentiful, the liquid stays put. But when oxygen drops, when the insect is active, when it's in low oxygen environments, the insect can actively withdraw this liquid, pull it back up the tracheole, exposing more of the tracheal wall to air, reducing the distance oxygen must diffuse, increasing oxygen delivery precisely where it's needed most. This was discovered by the great insect physiologist V.B. Wigglesworth in the 1930s. He watched fleas under the microscope. When oxygen dropped, the liquid in their tracheoles retreated. When oxygen rose, the liquid returned. It's a dynamic, responsive, intelligent system. And it's happening in every active insect, every moment of every day. A liquid gate, controlled by oxygen, regulating life. Recent research has shown that this liquid control is even more sophisticated than Wigglesworth imagined. In fireflies, tracheolar liquids gate oxygen supply to the photocytes, the cells that produce light. The firefly doesn't just control how much oxygen reaches its cells, it controls when. Precisely timed oxygen delivery creates the flashing pattern. The liquid gate doesn't just regulate breathing, it regulates communication, it regulates mating, it regulates life itself. 300 million years ago, during the Carboniferous period, dragonflies with 2-foot wingspans ruled the skies. Millipedes, longer than a car, crawled through forests. Arthropods grew to sizes that seem impossible today. And the reason? The air. Atmospheric oxygen during the Carboniferous was 30 to 35%. Today, it's 21%. That difference, that extra oxygen, changed everything. Because remember, insect respiration relies on diffusion, and diffusion depends on the concentration gradient. The difference between oxygen outside and oxygen inside. The bigger the difference, the faster oxygen moves, the deeper it can penetrate, the larger the insect can grow. With 35% oxygen, a dragonfly could be hawk-sized. Its tracheal tubes could be long enough to reach every cell and still deliver enough oxygen. But at 21%, the math breaks down. As an insect grows larger, its tracheal tubes must become disproportionately wider and longer to supply oxygen to all its tissues. Eventually, the tubes would take up so much space, there would be no room for muscles, organs, or anything else. The physics of diffusion is a hard limit, and at 21% oxygen, that limit is small. Scientists have tested this. They raised insects in hyperoxic conditions, 30, 40, even 50% oxygen, and the insects grew larger. Not giant, but measurably larger. Dragonflies had bigger wings, beetles had bigger bodies. The limit is real, and it's set by the air we breathe. But oxygen isn't the only limit. The exoskeleton, that tough outer shell, becomes heavier and weaker as it scales up. The square cube law. Double the size, and the volume and weight increases 8-fold. The exoskeleton would need to be impossibly thick to support the weight, or impossibly heavy to be strong enough. In water, buoyancy helps. That's why crustaceans, crabs, lobsters, giant isopods can grow so much larger. The water holds them up. On land, insects are trapped between two limits, the physics of breathing and the engineering of their own skeletons. So the next time you swat a fly, remember, you're not just killing the bug, you're witnessing the upper limit of an entire design philosophy. A respiratory system so efficient, so direct, so perfectly adapted to small size that it can never grow large. The insect's greatest strength is also its greatest prison.
And yet, despite these limits, or perhaps because of them, insects conquered the world. There are more species of insect than all other animal groups combined. They pollinate our crops, they decompose our waste, they feed our birds and fish. They have been around for 400 million years. They survived mass extinctions that killed the dinosaurs. They adapted to every environment, from Antarctic ice to desert sand, from deep caves to mountain peaks. Their respiratory system, holes in their sides, tubes to their cells, liquid gates at the tips, is not a flaw, it is a feature. It is the engine that powered the most successful radiation in the history of life. And every time an insect opens a spiracle, every time air rushes down a trachea, every time oxygen dissolves at a tracheal tip and feeds a cell, that ancient system is still working, still breathing, still alive. Next time you see an insect, don't just look at its wings, or its legs, or its eyes. Look at its sides. Look for the holes, the spiracles, the portals to an invisible empire. Because behind those tiny openings lies a system so elegant, so efficient, so perfectly engineered, that it built the world we know, one breath at a time.